Well, I asked, where's the beef? Let's call this for what this is. Oh my God! They are so hopelessly woke. How dare you? That is the intellectual capital of the left today. Give me a break. You are now watching the Daily Roundup. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Daily Roundup on this, a Monday, April 24th, 2023. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, well, let me tell you a little bit about my co-host. Do you know what, folks? Do you know that yesterday was National Cherry Cheesecake Day? And both my co-host and myself did not celebrate it because, let's face it, Ontario Premier Doug Ford is eating enough cherry cheesecake for all of us. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is Sheila Gunn Reid. How you doing there, Sheila?
David, I'm doing great. Yeah, I had no idea that there was like a National Cherry Cheesecake Day. Today is also Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, so I guess we're all just going to pretend like Turkey didn't do it. Like they're just our regular old allies in NATO and not a bunch of anti-Christian genocidaires. We're just gonna pretend that never happened, I guess.
Well, you know, that is a serious subject, and to Turkey's eternal shame, they have not acknowledged that genocide that took place more than 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, blaming it on crop failures whenever you come up, you know, to a mass grave. I know many Armenians. It really. It's a horrible thing because, I mean, if we compare that to the attempted genocide of the Jewish race during Nazism in World War II, Sheila, I mean, post fall of the Nazis, you've had reparations, you've had apologies, you even have bans on the Nazi Party salute, the publication of a swastika. Even, you know, you could argue that Germany's done as much possible to attempt to create a wrong that, well, you can never correct it outright, of course. But Turkey is the absolute opposite, isn't it? They're saying, what genocide? What mass graves? What? And it is appalling, and it's so awful that we do turn the other way. Too many of us, as you mentioned, when it comes to NATO, when it comes to this absolute atrocity of yestercentury.
Yeah, and lots of people at the time even drew parallels, like as the Holocaust was happening in Germany, they said, you know, this drawing direct parallels between what was happening there and what had happened to the Armenians. And it seems to be a forgotten genocide unless you are indeed Armenian or someone who pays close attention to Christian persecution over the last 100 years. But everybody just cuts Turkey a pass, pretends like it didn't happen because they're good NATO allies. Or so I'm told.
And you know what, Sheila, you raise a really good point. I mean, the Nazis of the day, one of their sayings was, when it came to the genocide, was, who mourns for the Armenian people? They are forgotten, right? And that had only happened 30-odd years previous. So you're right. And again, I wonder what it's going to take to at least make Turkey acknowledge that this happened.
I don't think they ever will. I don't think they ever will, and they're sort of position themselves in this geopolitical space, but also, you know, where they are physically located in the world makes them a coveted ally for all sides, and so they play all sides, and they just get to whitewash their own history.
But wrong is wrong at the end of the day. Anyways, I didn't mean to get off on a tangerine.
No, me neither. Sorry about that. What a bummer.
I was trying to make it light, Sheila, with cherry cheesecake, and you bring up atrocities of the past. My goodness gracious.
God. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
By the way, have you ever, I've been told, I'm not a baker. I should ask my son. He's a fantastic baker, but I've never made the Doug Ford cherry cheesecake recipe. Maybe one of our producers can, you know, find Doug Ford. What we're referencing, folks, in case you don't know, is that, like, during the lockdown,
I think pandemic, we have a T-shirt to that effect too, don't we?
Pardon
me?
We
might even have a T-shirt in the store, sort of with Doug Ford's cherubic face. making a cheese. Oh, look
Yeah,
at.
there he is. Now, I mean, can you imagine, Sheila? People are losing their jobs. People are losing their businesses.
He's got his gut on the counter.
Yeah, and I mean, here's Nero fiddling as Rome burns. He says, "Hey, folks, there's the most outrageous piece of propaganda of the pandemic. We're all in this together."
The rubber gloves? No, the rubber gloves in your own kitchen. Like, give me a break. You're wearing rubber gloves in your own kitchen, Doug.
Yeah. So
Honest.
Stay at home, eat something heavy in sugar and cholesterol, and get fat and perhaps diabetic, sitting at home doing nothing, and eating cherry cheesecake. But
what size T-shirt do you think he wears? Like, we could literally all be in that shirt together.
Well, I think it's a special order from Abdullah, the tent maker. But the thing is, Sheila, is that I've been told by somebody that understands baking, she went over the ingredients and she said, this is like junk. This is not Cheesecake Factory cheesecake, really, top of the line cheesecake. This is awful. And oh my goodness, there you go. We do have the Doug Ford short sleeve unisex t-shirt. Rules for thee, but not for me. Yeah, that's what should have been on his baking shirt.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't eat a lot. I don't eat any baking, to be honest with you. I bake a lot, though. Like, I don't impose my weird eating habits on my family. And look, I'm not one to say, like, don't take shortcuts, because shortcuts are cheap. And if you're baking and you don't have a lot of money, yeah, you know what? Some instant pudding can really help you cut a few corners when you're making a cheesecake. But I'm not sure this is like your sacred family recipe you should be telling the world about. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. And I would say this, that if you're going to bake something from scratch, even though it might cost a little more, buy the best ingredients. Don't get don't cheap out.
I'm not uppity about that kind of stuff. I just think, like, if you are going to be like Doug Ford's cooking show, your packaged whipped cream, your packaged pudding mix, your packaged this, your packaged that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, if Doug Ford gets a cooking show, Sheila, one thing we know won't be called is the Galloping Gourmet. I don't think there's much galloping to take done by Doug Ford. But anyways, we digress. What is it that we're ostensibly trying to do here, Sheila? Because it is a packed sausage of a news day.
Anywho, I should tell everybody what we're doing, because some news just broke right before we were coming on air, which is wild. But yes, this is the Rebel News Daily Roundup. It's normally hosted by David and a rotating cast of your favorite Rebel News characters, including myself. And I say that with confidence because I was the Viewer's Choice Award winner this year. That comes with nothing except a plaque and my gratitude for everybody who voted for me. But we are streaming on YouTube, which is a censorship platform. So if you're still there, I guess good. But you've got other options like Rumble, Odyssey, and Twitter. What's the other one? Rumble, Odyssey, Twitter, Getter. That's it. And Getter. And on Rumble and Odyssey, if you want to support the work that we do completely willingly, you can leave something called a paid chat. On Odyssey, it's called a hyper chat. On Rumble, it's called a Rumble rant. And it, helps you, or helps us. It allows you to support the work that we do out of the goodness of your heart, because you want to see the little network that could keep on going. But it also democratizes the show. You can have your say about the things that we're talking about. And we're also on Locals now. So locals.com, you can find Rebel News there. You can join our little Locals community. You'll find all of our content there, including our paywalled content. So it's just another way for you to support us, but get a little something back in return. I think that's it. Olivia, does that sound like I hit all the bases? Check them all off? I think so. Okay, great. Alrighty, David, take it away.
Well, you referenced some breaking news, and it's bad news. Hopefully there will be a happy conclusion as this story develops. But Tucker Carlson has parted from Fox News. Now, there was no reason given, as far as I can tell, from what's being sent out there, Sheila. I mean, there are theories, of course. This comes just a week after Fox settled, I think it was $787 million US with their lawsuit
Right.
with Dominion voting machines. And but then again, another theory is that, Tucker, as you know, Sheila, he was going, really hardcore into the deep state narrative. Maybe the Murdochs didn't like that. Maybe they got nervous. Maybe they feel that they have to play nice to the Biden administration. We know there are people as part of that administration, such as ACC, who has called on the government to ban Tucker Carlson and other Fox News hosts. As though is she unaware that there's something called the First Amendment in her country's constitution?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who plays up her ethnic last name, but she is just as well kept as they come. I'm not sure why this is happening. There's lots of speculation. I don't think, frankly, at this point, Fox News needs Tucker Carlson more than Tucker Carlson needs Fox News. He is the biggest draw on their network. I think he's the biggest draw on cable news television.
He is.
His show just hammers in the ratings every single week. He's basically the flagship of Fox Nation, their premium subscription service, which we can't get in Canada unless you have a VPN, which I recommend that you do. He gets all these fun hosts. He has Tucker Carlson Investigates, which is excellent. So if this is about the Dominion voting lawsuit, I wonder if it was part of the settlement that they had to fire him, because I can't imagine that Fox would part ways with him when they need to make up $750 million in lost revenue in a settlement. Why would you get rid of your biggest moneymaker for the network if you've just been hammered with this $750 million lawsuit payment, unless maybe firing him was part of the settlement?
Could you imagine, Sheila? I mean, I've never heard of that. We want the money plus he, i.e. your top draw. And you're absolutely right. Not only is he the biggest, he gets the best ratings for Fox News. That's all of the cable news channels. I mean, that would be precedent setting. I can't think of offhand any kind of lawsuit.
I just don't know why they would fire him in the wake of that, unless it is something that Dominion wanted done to punish the network. It just doesn't make any sense to me to part ways with your biggest moneymaker when you need to make a bunch of money away.
And so sudden. I mean, there's not even a farewell show. Friday's show was his last show. And holy Anheuser-Busch, Batman, apparently Fox News stock is down 4% already
that'll happen.
Yeah. I mean, Tucker Carlson is a great talent. I love this show. And I love the fact that, unlike so many in the mainstream media, Sheila, Tucker took an interest in Canadian news stories.
Yeah.
It's actually quite remarkable how much Canadian content you would find on Fox News. And full disclosure, both you and I, Sheila, and other rebels have been guests on Tucker Carlson Tonight. It was always an honor and a privilege for me. And I just wonder where he'll land, because that much talent.
Right squarely on his feet.
But where would you speculate, Sheila?
I wonder. Fox also parted ways with Dan Bongino.
Yes, last week.
I wonder if not for the same reasons. They said they couldn't agree on a contract. I wonder what was so disagreeable about the contract. Again, he was a bit of a fan favorite. If you liked Dan Bongino, then you really liked the Dan Bongino show. Yep. But he is also cut ties with anything to do with YouTube. So he's exclusively on Rumble, which naturally would mean that he's on locals also. So I think that Tucker Carlson is going to be just fine. I bet you he heads on over to locals and Rumble and does his own podcast and starts making money directly for himself instead of funneling it through Fox News first.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Tucker News rose to prominence with CNN, but back then.
Yeah, but he also started the Daily Caller. So let's not kid ourselves that he's completely unfamiliar with building your own media empire out of nothing. He built the Daily Caller. So who knows? I'm actually excited to see what he does next.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Fox is already suffering buyer's remorse by firing him. Sheila,
again, I don't know if he's been fired. I don't know if he was released. I don't know if it was over money. I don't know if it was over contract. I don't know what it was. But if you, I just don't know if you let go of your biggest draw when you've just got hammered with a lawsuit, if not for other reasons, or not a lawsuit, but rather a lawsuit settlement. In other news, though, Don Lemon, or Lemon, I don't know how you say it.
Oh, it's a lemon, all right.
Don Lemon was also just unceremoniously booted from CNN, and he says like he didn't know. His agent called him and said, "Yeah, by the way, you're happy Monday, you're fired." So I don't know. The darkness and the light, they balance each other sometimes.
Isn't that something? But these things tend to happen in three. So hopefully I'm not going to be called into human resources at the end of the day. You know what? But yeah, I'm not so much distraught over Don Lemon's termination. I don't want to see anyone lose their job, but I mean, I was not a fan.
You know what though? Also, let's stop for a second here and see how Tucker's dealing with this. Just head down, not saying too much, versus the whining, gnashing of the teeth that we're seeing from Don Lemon here. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to do the work I have loved at the network. It is clear there are some larger issues at play, you think? With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the many teams I have worked with for an incredible run. They are the most talented journalists in the business, and I wish them all the best. Boo-hoo, wow. Don Lemon.
Yeah, class.
Crybaby.
Well, it'll be an ongoing story, Sheila.
Hang on, and just one more thing before we move on from this. And I know you're trying to wrap it up, but let me tell you, if Don Lemon hadn't been fired today at simultaneously the same time as Tucker Carlson is released from Fox News, the left would be doing a jig on the grave of the career of Tucker Carlson, except their guy just got the boot too. So all things in balance.
True enough. And by the way, in case, we may as well give AOC the last word. We have a little video of her actually calling on the government to ban the likes of Tucker Carlson. Unbelievable. Why don't we roll that?
Federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't. And when you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very, very clearly incitement of violence. Very clearly incitement of violence. And that is the line that I think we have to be willing to contend with. Federal regulation.
Sheila, do you remember Tucker Carlson ever inciting violence? What is she talking about?
Actually, he's the biggest critic of political violence that you'll ever see. She's a supporter of BLM. She's a supporter of the mostly peaceful arsons happening in the background. So, she has never spoken out against Antifa, anything like that. No. Tucker Carlson is such a critic of people who use violence to get their, political wants met. So I don't know what she's talking about. She's crazy. These people make things up in their mind, like the insurrection, which was just like an out of control tour guide event at the Capitol. Like it's nonsense, right?
But you know what, Sheila? What a fail for MSNBC LSD, as Mark Levin likes to call them. Wouldn't the natural follow-up question from the host be, oh, really? Can you cite a few examples of Tucker Carlson calling for violence? Because those examples don't exist. And for the host to have AOC on the show, to ask her a question like that, that might be deemed, impolite, backing up your statement with a fact. So never mind, we'll let it slide.
Yeah. By the way, have you ever looked at the top 50 nicknames that Mark Levin has given out to people?
Oh, it's beautiful.
There's a website that documents all of them. Anyway, it's very easily defined. But
my favorite has to be calling Joe Scarborough the morning schmo and his wife Mrs. Schmo. That's just
Yeah.
That makes me laugh out loud every time I hear it.
God.
And by the way, what a great interview. If anyone PVR'd this, Donald Trump was on Mark Levin. And, what a solid hour of a question and giving the guest time to respond. And I think Mark Levin summed it up the best at the end of the hour, where he said, everything that you've said is so reasonable, so rational. And one of the biggest problems is that if only people, your critics, your enemies, would give you the opportunity to speak and to listen, then maybe they wouldn't be vilifying you and demonizing you like they do. And that's 100% true. And
well, that's why they don't. That's why they don't. Because, then at least up until that time, you don't feel intellectually dishonest with yourself, right? You can live with the madness that you've created in your mind about this person that you've been told that you should dislike. And so that's why you can never listen to them, because you don't want to fact check yourself.
100%. Well, Sheila, I believe we have to take a quick ad break, and then we'll get back to video of Trudeau proclaiming that his government is proudly pro-choice, and this is news. Why? Well, we'll try to unravel the mystery. Check out this ad, folks.
I am doing something today that I have never tried before. Listen up. I'm looking for collaborators in a new and exciting initiative. As you most likely know, YouTube a long time ago demonetized Rebel News, and we are 100% viewer funded. Now, while our supporters are fantastic at helping us cover legal campaigns and special reporting missions, unfortunately, the reality is our day-to-day operational expenses often exceed our income stream. Which is crazy if you think about it, because my videos across all platforms attract hundreds of thousands of views and sometimes even millions. So I want to share that reach with the right partners. If you have a product or business and want to enter a win-win relationship with me, please go to rebelnews.com/ads and fill in the form to let me know. I won't be accepting anyone. I need to believe in your business or product so I can sell it proudly for you. And for successful applicants, I will guarantee a minimum view count, meaning even if your ad is published on the less popular reports, we'll keep promoting your business or product until it gets the agreed minimum eyeball. So again, if you have a cool company or product that either wants to take advantage of my reach or want to support my work through advertising in a way that you can write it off as a tax deduction, or both, head over to rebelnews.com/ads and hopefully we can join forces soon.
Well, that's a new ad, and I wish Avi well. And I got to tell you, Sheila, there are many companies out there, and I think that is especially evident given the Bud Light marketing fiasco of maybe 10 days or 2 weeks ago, that there is a pent-up base out there that rejects wokeism and political correctness and being told how to think, how to speak. And if you are a like-minded advertiser, wow, what a portal Rebel News is to get your message out to like-minded consumers. I think it's win-win, Sheila.
I do too. There's a market for companies to keep their mouths shut and keep their politics to themselves, but also for an alternative. For conservatives to get behind. We see that this is the success of like Jeremy's Razors and the Daily Wire Chocolate Company, whatever they called that. Because, like you're tired of being lectured to. You just want something that's good, that works, that won't lecture you. And so, there's always an alternative. And if you want to appeal to a highly motivated viewer base who loves to throw their money and moral support behind things they believe in, might I suggest you advertise with us?
Oh, absolutely. And I think there was a thirst for this. I mean, a guest I've had on the show before, Sheila, is Nikki Bailu, who is the co-author of the Great American Boycott. Not boycott, folks, because they already did a book. Here are all the woke, horrible companies you shouldn't support. So they came out with, here are the ones, it's a reference guide, if you will, of who you should support. These are conservative-minded companies. They're not woke. And I don't mind giving him a free plug. And geez, maybe if they come out with a second edition, Nikki's going to have to include Rebel News there. If you're not a consumer, but you are the owner of a company and you want to advertise, well, we speak the same language.
Yeah, and I don't even care if a company shares my politics. I just don't want them to vilify me for my politics. I don't want them to be scared of selling their products to conservatives. That I think is the best outcome. I don't need something to ideologically align with me all the time, but I also don't want a company that wants me to patronize them while simultaneously hating me. I just think that's probably bad business, right? Bud Light?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what made me so frustrated about the Bud Light boycott, Sheila. And beyond boycott, I love the fact that Chris Rock exercised his First and Second Amendment rights at the same time by taking a machine gun.
Oh, Kid Rock, yeah.
That was so beautiful. But my frustration, Sheila, is that I was already boycotting Bud Light because it's not a good product. I would call it horse piss, except I don't want to insult the equestrian community. Maybe that's why Anheuser-Busch, I guess their mascot is those beautiful Clydesdale horses. Maybe there's a connection between the horses and the final product. But I will say this, Sheila, as I said in my monologue for Ezra last Thursday, I think this was more than simply a beer boycott. It was literally the straw that broke the camel's back. It was people saying, we're sick and tired of you shoving your damn wokeism down our throats, whether it's academia or Major League Sports or Hollywood, and we are taking a stance. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see if Bud Light ever recovers. And of course, in this country, we were already over this last summer when Bud Light, which is brewed under license by Labatt, came out with those ridiculous cans. I think it said on the can, celebrate everyone's gender. And you saw things like Z, Zer, her, here. And we went right down to the headquarters of Labatt in London. Yeah. We just want to ask them, what do these pronouns mean? There it is. There's the pronoun can.
Celebrate everyone's identity.
Yeah. And not even they knew it. They locked the gate and said somebody at corporate communications will get to you, and they never did. So they don't even believe in the crap that they're pulling out. I wonder, Sheila, do you think, given the Bud Light fiasco that we've seen in the last few weeks in the United States, do you think Bud Light in Canada is going to do those cans again? Because my feeling is that, especially in America, any company that had any kind of uber woke marketing campaign on the drawing board, well, those have been incinerated. They are not going to go down that route. They don't want to be Dylanized like Bud Light was. So it'll be interesting to see if we get more of this bull crap in terms of the gender pronouns on Bud Light cans in Canada come June. That's the Pride month, right? Well, is it Pride year already?
It's Pride season. They have the whole summer now.
It's the whole summer. Yeah, why do they get the summer?
They should pick the season where they are forced to wear more clothes. Yeah, you mentioned the Clydesdales, and it seems as though the Clydesdales' asses were in charge of marketing down at Bud Light, because it's as though these people have never met a Bud Light drinker before.
Yep.
The guys who drink Bud Light down at the sports bar watching the Oilers game don't want a rainbow on it. Dylan Mulvaney, I bet you that is the first time he ever had a drink of Bud Light in his life. I bet you. It's not, he doesn't go down to the beer store and grab a sixer by the ring and go up and have it put through at the cash register. Definitely not. This did not convert a single person to Bud Light. All it did was alienate Bud Light's regular drinkers and send them to the loving arms of Coors Light. I just don't know what they were supposed to achieve here, but it was a cultural general strike. Yeah. And I hope that other companies are standing back and learning a lesson here. But moreover, to your question about whether or not this will proceed in Canada, definitely. We're just a progressive garbage can at this point of bad ideas. And while Bud Light drinkers in the United States are going to escape wokeism on their can next year, I think we are going to have to live with this for, I don't know, in perpetuity. I think probably.
You might be right, Sheila, unfortunately. But I mean, look, we were scrolling down that news release, which was noting that the former VP of Marketing, Elisa Heinerscheid, for Bud Light, she's on leave. I wonder if she's ever coming back. And, and that was, it wasn't just the Dylan Mulvaney ad campaign, which, by the way, the most offensive thing of that campaign, I should think, is that if you were a female, especially a female sports fan, what a slap in the face, right?
Yeah.
Oh, March Madness, they tell me that's some sporting event. I thought we were all just having a really bad time recently. March Madness, sorry, after the Super Bowl, I believe March Madness is the second biggest thing in American sports there is. So the idea of going decades ago into the advertising past and depicting a woman, in this case a fake woman, as a bimbo, where the hell are the feminist groups about that? But then when Alyssa does that interview and says, yeah, we've had this image issue.
Frat boy. She said frat boy.
Frat
image.
boy. Oh, wait a minute. You mean the same frat boys that are exiting the liquor store with cases of Bud Light under their arms for their weekend parties? You mean those guys, the ones who are supporting your brand, and you want to reach out to trans women who have no interest in Bud Light? And what a scintilla of a percentage of a demographic, I must say, Sheila. I mean, it is unbelievable that you would A, use that marketing pitch in the first place, and B, focus your laser sight on your core demographic. I mean, to me, that's a fireable offense. And I just wonder how many head honchos at Anheuser-Busch knew that this was going on, because this is...
All of them. Well, they're trying to leak to the media that, oh, she did this and we didn't know anything about it. The hell you didn't.
Yeah.
Now you're just trying to save yourselves and make it seem as though, we're not that company. We're not the company of wokeism. That's what they're trying to say right now. They're trying to feign ignorance to sort of salvage what's left of any little bit of their credibility. But absolutely, they knew what she was up to. You don't have a major marketing campaign like this without most of the senior brass knowing exactly what's going on. I'm sorry, I don't believe it.
And that makes it doubly sad, Sheila, because I can tell you,
because they think we're dumb enough to believe it.
Well, no, but not only that, in 2016 and 2020, Anheuser-Busch was a big donor to the Trump campaign. So the fact that they could get infected by this wokeism is unbelievable. And the other thing they have failed to do, the CEO released a statement last week. It was appalling. It was, hey, we never meant to divide people. Well, we divided people.
But you did. Yeah.
Yeah. There was no apology. That was the thing missing from the CEO statement. And like I mentioned in my monologue last Thursday, Sheila, I look at what happened in 1982 to Johnson & Johnson, the makers of Tylenol. You had some maniac, some psychopath, was never caught, tainting Tylenol tablets with cyanide. 7 deaths resulted in that. And what did Johnson & Johnson do? They were incredibly proactive. Even though all the deaths occurred in the Chicago area, they recalled all the tablets worldwide. We're talking billions and billions of tablets, even though it was just a Chicago area problem. Then you had Johnson & Johnson becoming the pioneer of tamper-proof packaging, which is the standard the world over now. But also, Sheila, they issued a public apology, and it was sincere. And consumers, I think most of them, realized Johnson & Johnson was a victim too. They were having their brand reputation put in the dumpster through no fault of their own. And I can tell you, I remember analysts back then, this is how old I am, saying that one thing is for certain, Tylenol as a brand name is dead. Well, Sheila, let me tell you something. In 2023, so some 40 years later, Tylenol today has a greater market share of the pain relief category than it did in the early 80s. So the lesson learned, and this is what the Anheuser-Busch executives must understand, if you apologize and it is sincere and transparent, the public is very forgiving, but you got to do that apologize. You have to actually issue an apology, Sheila, not some word salad where, well, we never meant for this to happen. Sorry, not working.
No, let's bump ahead. Let's cover this quick video of Justin Trudeau, and then let's move ahead to this J.K. Rowling remarking on Omar al-Jabra prancing around in high heels, because I'm so full of opinions with that. They're just bursting out of me. So speaking of wokeism, shocking to no one, Justin Trudeau declares Canada proudly pro-choice, and we always will be, according to him. Women like me don't exist.
You might have seen this video recently. It was from a conversation I had with a young man on the issue of being pro-choice. In the days following this video getting out there, I got a whole bunch of comments and suggestions from friends and supporters who said, oh, you could have said this, or you should have laid out that, to really make clear what your stance is. So I wanted to take a moment right now to emphasize that our government will always stand up and take action to protect access to reproductive health services. We've increased access to the abortion pill right across the country, which helps people in rural and remote areas. We're working with partners across the country to ensure better access to safe and inclusive reproductive health services, and we're holding provinces to account when they're not delivering on their obligations. In the House of Commons, in 2021, when a Conservative MP brought in legislation to restrict abortion access, Liberal MPs stepped up and voted it down. With attacks on reproductive rights around the world, it's really important that we not take things for granted, that we continue to stand up unequivocally. So let me be very clear. This government will never tell a woman what to do with her body. We are unequivocally and proudly pro-choice and always will be.
Oh, wait a minute, Blackface. You told a lot of women, and men for that matter, what to do with their bodies during the pandemic by either getting the jab or losing your job. I mean, what poppycock? I guess, my body, my choice, Sheila, that mantra only pertains to the termination of a baby's life, and certainly not about getting an experimental vaccine thrust into your arm.
Yeah, as a woman, there's nothing quite like having to listen to a man tell you that there's only one viewpoint on a contentious issue, particularly one that affects you directly. And I love the euphemisms, right? Like reproductive health. That's not actually what any of this is about. And I think regular viewers will know, look, I'm pro-life. I come by it honestly. For religious reasons, but also scientific reasons, but also for moral reasons, as in, I am not someone who believes in generational curses. Like, I'm not superstitious like that. But for some reason, the progressive left seems to think that children should be held responsible for the crimes of their fathers, or their mothers for that matter. And I don't believe that poverty or inconvenience should strip away someone of their humanity. But the left sure does. The left obviously does.
Sheila, and I'm going to quote Blackface verbatim. What did he mean by inclusive reproductive health services? Have we, if a woman of color was going to get an abortion, was she turned back because of race or ethnicity? Was that ever an issue in our country?
No. If I'm correct on this, and I know that I am, they normally put these services in minority neighborhoods for a reason. But also, I think he might mean that, he might be sort of appeasing the men can have periods but also get pregnant crowd. Yeah. I think that's what he's talking about there. If you're a man that finds himself with child, what? We're Canada's here to help you. This is the madness that we're having to listen to from our leader, our esteemed leader of our country. But by the way, thanks, ladies of Toronto, for giving him to the rest of us. Again, I'll give up my vote if it means that a woman in Toronto doesn't vote for Justin Trudeau.
Unbelievable.
I'm happy to make that trade.
So why don't we go from blackface lecturing women about abortion to
shoes.
Omar Al-Gabra, a.k.a. the Hobgoblin. I believe Sheila Gunn Reid gets full credit for coining that nickname.
Transportation Goblin.
No, so this guy's going to lecture women on violence against women, and how better to do that than to, transition from loafers into high heel shoes? Check this out.
Yeah, let's run this emasculation ritual we're watching here on full. Just keep it on a loop while we talk about it. So apparently this is, I forget which organization does it, but shame on them anyway. What they do is they make men participate in some sort of self-flagellation by foot, and wear these pink shoes and walk around. And apparently it's to raise awareness, which means actually not do anything. Raise awareness is a synonym for doing nothing, but feeling good about doing nothing. For violence against women. And so seeing Canadian MPs march around clumsily in a committee room in pink high heels is supposed to convince men who might, beat their wives that maybe they shouldn't. Yeah. That's the theory behind all of this. And boy, let me tell you, I feel safer already. Like, I feel like I could just strut down a dark alley, jackknife be damned, thanks to Omar Al-Jabra and these other humiliating embarrassments of men prancing around in high heels. Like, what does this tangibly do? I guess we can just empty out all the women's shelters because these guys danced around in high heels. What a disgrace. As a woman, I'm embarrassed. Where are the good women in these guys' lives to intervene and save them from themselves? This is a disgrace. What did this do? What did this do? We've got a bunch of guys saying, look how progressive we are. Look how much we care about the issue. How does this change hearts and minds? How does this help women and children in shelters?
Oh, Sheila, you said it yourself. It raises awareness. You know, it reminds me of a great quote by Mark Stein going back many years. I'm paraphrasing. And he was mocking this whole raising awareness movement, whatever the cause may be. And he was saying words to the fact of, thank God in yesterdecade and yestercentury, inventors weren't raising awareness of the automobile or raising awareness of penicillin. They were actually inventing the automobile and bringing penicillin to market. Right? You know, they were doing something. And also, you know, the high heel shoe doesn't work for a male. The whole idea behind the high heel shoe, there is a science to it, Sheila, as you may well know. The whole idea is that it lifts the buttocks and it makes the chest protrude forward. It enhances the female figure. I know they're very uncomfortable to wear, but that is the actual science behind what the high heel is supposed to do. So a high heel shoe on a guy, does not compute.
Well, and I'm reliably informed that these people are against the gender binary, right? Like, they say, like, we got to get away from these gender stereotypes, but it's going to be more gender stereotypical than prancing around in pink high heels to raise awareness about women's issues. I do not own a pair of pink high heels. You'd be hard pressed to find me in high heels. I'm running around in some little form of practical work boot, because it just makes sense for my lifestyle. But this is reinforcing gender stereotypes very clearly. Yep. But also, let's just look at the tangibles here. Effeminate men do not make women safer. Masculine men make women safer. Masculine men make the world a safer place for women like me. This makes, like, men who would agree to wear high heels are not doing anything to protect women and girls out in the world. They would grab your purse and run in the other direction if somebody confronted their wife, to do her any kind of harm. I feel like those are the kind of guys who wouldn't defend their wives. They would just run away, scurry away.
Yeah. Unbelievable. What a Congo line of morons. But I will say this, Sheila.
And J.K. Rowling says, keep us posted on how many femicides this prevented. Yeah, exactly my point, J.K. Exactly my point. What does this do? What does this do?
Oh, my goodness. And I have to tell you, Sheila, though, in defense of the high heel shoe, for women, which it's meant for, Lady Menzoid always looks good in a pair of high heels. I think she only has one pair. She's like you. She loves sneakers and, practical shoes. And she always complains when she puts them on. And I always tell her, Sheila, better to look good than to feel good.
Is it, David? Is it? Because I feel like you
Well,
tell her that too many
say.
times and you won't be feeling good either. I don't live in a world where I would ever come near a man wearing pink high heels. My husband outside he's power polishing the tractor for some reason right now. That's what I walked past on my way downstairs. Like I just can't relate to these men. I don't live in that world. And it just is so off-putting. It just makes your ovaries just turn to dust and blow away, doesn't it, ladies?
I don't
Just
know
gross.
that feeling, thank God. We have
Gross.
to take another ad break, Sheila, and we'll get back with some more Transanity, this time in, well, normally I'm contractually obliged not to talk about Regina, but this is where the story occurred, so we have to talk about it. You won't believe this one, folks. See you on the other side.
The media said that Canadian truckers were Russian agents controlled by Vladimir Putin. Justin Trudeau called them extremists.
The small fringe minority.
We are here out of love for our families, our communities.
And the government put the country under martial law to stop them. But what's the real story?
If you can't see the future in clear outline right now, you're not paying attention. But the truckers in Canada can.
And I want you to know that I am not afraid.
For the first time, the woman at the heart of the trucker convoy speaks out.
Hold the line.
Tamara Lich, passionate organizer, loving mother and grandmother, proud Métis and proud Albertan, and defiant political prisoner jailed for daring to criticize the government. Tamara Lich. Her new book, Hold the Line, My Story from the Heart of the Freedom Convoy, is the inside scoop of what really happened. You've heard from the media and the convoy's critics. Now hear the truth from the woman who inspired the world and made Justin Trudeau blink. Visit theconvoybook.com to order your copy now.
You know what, Sheila? I love the double standard here. As you know, with the trucker convoy, the slogan was Hold the Line. That is the title of Tamara Lich's book, Hold the Line. And that resulted in the Emergencies Act being invoked. And yet, for the last several days, out in the federal government land, the federal employees, about over 155,000 of them, are on strike. And what are they chanting? Hold the line. You think blackface is going to invoke the Emergencies Act again on these strikers for saying that kind of hate speech, Sheila?
Definitely not. I mean, he didn't even, Trudeau didn't even meet with the truckers. He's probably holding high-level meetings right now with PSAC, scared to death. But when the truckers came, he left town. They were rolling onto Wellington. He's like, oh, we're out. I have COVID again. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Before we move on to our next story, I'm supposed to tell everybody a little bit more about locals. So whether you're watching on Rumble or YouTube, we invite you to join our Rebel News community by clicking the link. There's a link in the description box of this video, particularly if you're watching it on YouTube, but also on Rumble too. So you can join our locals community. It's a place where we can engage with each other, share our thoughts and ideas, and most importantly, stand up for our right to free speech without the fear of censorship or being deplatformed. Right, YouTube? This is a place where you can access all of our free content, but if you want to do a little bit more than that, like I said at the beginning, our paywalled content is there, and our exclusive premium subscription content is there too, like our early access to our documentaries and behind the scenes work on our documentaries. Kian is cutting some candid shots of me doing things like chasing seagulls and I don't know, posing with beer signs. Anyways, if you're interested, it's there. So anyways, you can head on over to locals.com and you'll get access to my weekly show, Ezra's nightly show, and all you have to do is head on over to locals.com and find the Rebel News community there, and we hope to see you there, and I'll do my best to be a more active and engaged member of our locals community as well.
Well, Sheila, the next story, of course, what we teased was the YW, yes, W, not M, the YWCA in Regina. Oh, they were so excited to announce that Faye Johnston is our keynote speaker for the Woman of Distinction Award. Sheila, let's cut to the chase. Where the hell is the feminist movement? Why aren't they, where's the outcry about fake women passing themselves off as real women and getting rewarded for that?
Yeah. But from what I understand, the YWCA Regina, thanks to public outrage, has now made their, I think it's their Twitter account private, and I think they might have deleted their entire Instagram account thanks to this. And it's women who are outraged. It's not men calling the YWCA and having a conniption. It's women like my friend Lise, who called them this morning. I think she sent me a voice recording. I'm going to use it in a video. Just saying, like, are you, like, you're standing by this? Like, there are a lot of women who could be keynote speakers, but score one for the patriarchy again and chalk one up in the obsolescence of women box, because these men keep stealing all of our opportunities. And I think, and I have to dig a little deeper, but I saw it out of the corner of my eye as I was contemplating the video I plan to do on this, that one of the Women of Distinction Awards, because that's what this is. So it's the Women of Distinction Awards. They sold out the awards. And then I think they announced the keynote speaker, and everyone's like, what?
Oh.
Well, this is not what I bought a ticket for. Yeah. And one of the Women of Distinction nominees is also a dude in a lady costume. So, I mean, not only are they taking our position as keynote speaker, but they're also taking our positions as nominees. There's nothing these guys can't do better than us.
That was despicable,
Misogynists.
Sheila. That, I believe, in marketing is called bait and switch. We have Women of Distinction Awards. Buy your ticket. They sell their tickets. And, oh, by the way, one of those so-called women happens to have a penis. You don't mind, do you? We're just trying to be diverse and inclusive and embrace equity and all that. Absolutely astonishing. But, you're right. Woman reacted, that's biological woman, Sheila, with rage. But where is official femdom? Where is the feminist leaders on this? I think they subscribe to the wokeism of trans women are real women. That's the chant, when in fact, no, they are not. But, and also, Sheila, out in Regina, I mean, this is
Regina
not,
of all places.
I know. You'd think of, I think of in Saskatchewan, country common sense. And that for them to play this game, this is very disappointing.
Well, and in response to some of the outrage, the YWCA Canada, so you can imagine how woke this is, the national organization, we continue to be awestruck. Awestruck is the word they use, by Faye Johnston's incredible leadership, and are honored to walk alongside her. To those who would call trans hate, quote, feminism, you do not speak for us. There is no feminist liberation without trans rights. Like, this garbage makes me a feminist, and I'm not a feminist. But yeah, where are the bra burners of yesteryear to stick up for women and girls? Like, this is what 50 or 60 years ago, these guys who hate women so viscerally that they would masquerade at one of us to steal our opportunities. In the yesteryears, they would just beat their wives because dinner was overcooked. Like, it's the same mentality.
Unbelievable. Yes, somewhere in the greater Burlington, Ontario area, Busty Lemieux weeps. Yeah. That's because he can't buy a bra for Zed Cup breasts, allegedly, and so he can't burn it.
Those aren't real. He could just take them off. Just take them off.
Yeah.
Take them off.
36 pounds of made in China silicone, but they're real. Unbelievable.
By the way, David, thank you for keeping your Regina jokes to yourself. I was very anxious, but you really came through for me, so I appreciate that.
I don't want to get another lecture from the vice president. Neither
do I. Let's move Just, you're going to get everybody lectured. Let's just quickly move ahead. Florida town canceled Pride Parade after Governor DeSantis bans drag shows for children.
Good.
Now, they tell me, but this tips the hat to the real motives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, if you cannot expose children to your nudity in your age-inappropriate burlesque show, then you cancel the whole thing? Well, then that just tells me exactly what this was all about, doesn't it?
Oh, and Sheila, I want to, drill into something that you just said, because it's been a question I've been asking for decades, and I never get an answer. Okay, so it's the Gay Pride Parade, and one of the ways you show pride in your sexual orientation, whether you're a gay man or a lesbian or other, is you take off all your clothes and march down Main Street buff naked. I don't see people breaking into nudity at the Santa Claus parade, but then again, that happens in November, so there'd be incredible shrinkage problems, I imagine, or the St. Patrick's Day parade, or any other parade. Here's my question, Sheila Gunn Reid, and if anyone is in that community that can educate me, please, I give you my ears. What does pride have to do with nudity?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
If you can't show nudity to kids and then that outrages you so much that you cancel the whole thing, well, now I know it's just about showing your wiener to kids.
Yeah.
Now I know. Now, let's not pretend anymore. Now I know what the reason for this whole stupid thing is, right? Now I know.
Yeah, and good for Governor DeSantis, the voice of reason. And by the way, doesn't that prove what we were saying earlier in terms of advertising with Rebel News? I know I'm making a bit of a stretch here, but when Ron DeSantis was first elected, it was by a sliver. It was a horse race, a photo finish. And the last election, when he got reelected, it was a landslide. People are indeed buying what DeSantis is selling. And I'm not just talking Floridians. I go all around and people say, oh, if only there was a Governor DeSantis in blank state, county, city, you name it. So there is, in the silent majority, Sheila, an incredible hunger for this kind of leadership.
Yeah, of course there is. That's why he took his state from purple to deep red.
Yep.
Florida is a place where a lot of their elections are settled in the courts. He won by just, a fraction of a rounding error.
Yep.
In his first election campaign. And then he won by just an overwhelming majority by exactly looking at whatever issue is facing the people and then addressing it immediately. Yep. None of this Stephen Harper's hidden agenda that I still haven't found 15 years later. None of this slow and steady wins the race stuff. The left doesn't do that. He acts like the left in that he moves like a freight train through issues in the culture war. And I think people love him for it because he actually says he's going to do something. And then maybe even later on that day, he's doing it. As opposed to just this slow molasses sort of legislation that we see here in Canada. It's very frustrating.
And the most recent, I would say, Sheila, blip of a DeSantis-like character in Canada was the late, great Mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford.
Yep.
When he ran in 2014, if you recall the narrative, it was going to be a landslide. Oh, it was a landslide already. We won the election 10 minutes after the polls closed, not for the lefty Looney Tune he was going up against. And Rob Ford, unlike Doug Ford, he meant what he said, and he said what he meant. And he was honest, and he was sincere, and he was not woke, and he did not bend the knee to political correctness, nor the media. And people to this day still love him and mourn him, Sheila. I would love to see more Rob Fords on the Canadian landscape. And I know, as far as Alberta is concerned, Ralph Klein, right? That probably would have been your most recent greatest champion when it comes to somebody, trumpeting conservative values.
Yeah, more Rob, less Doug.
Oh, yeah.
Please. We're rapidly running out of time. We have a few chats to get to, but I want to get to this Mayor Eric Adams clip before we wrap up the show.
Oh, no.
Mayor Eric Adams of New York, a sanctuary city, by the way.
Yeah.
Sanctuary city, meaning you are going to be a safe haven for illegal migrants in the United States. And his progressive credentials were put to the test when Greg Abbott in Texas was like, okay, great. Here's your migrants. We're putting them on a bus and sending them to you, since you are one of the reasons which inspires them to walk across the border into Texas and engage human traffickers to get there. And so he did that. And then Eric Adams has a response to that, which we'll talk about in a second. But let's just show this clip. So remember, progressive running a sanctuary city. This is what he has to say.
You know, the city is being destroyed by the migrant crisis, and none of my folks came to Washington, D.C. to fight for the resources that's going to undermine every agency in our city. You know?
And the solution is buy them a bus ticket for Roxham Road.
Right. So he's like, they're destroying our city. You know what we got to do? Send them to Montreal. Like,
yeah.
Like, so they can destroy Montreal next. You know what you should be doing, Eric Adams? You're a Democrat. Get on the horn to Biden and say, we have to close that southern border, because that's how they're getting to New York. So deal with the southern border, which will save New York, which will save Montreal. But no, he just says, okay, well, you know what? You're destroying my city. Here's some bus tickets. Go to Montreal. And then Montreal can't handle them. So then they end up in Niagara Falls and they end up in Cornwall and a dozen other cities along the way who didn't ask to be the solution to New York's problems.
Migrant musical chairs, isn't it, Sheila? It's just a hot potato that they download to the next available municipality, or in Mayor Adams' case, the next nation. It is despicable. And really, when he's speaking of migrants that way, that doesn't sound very inclusive. That doesn't sound very diverse. That doesn't sound like he's embracing equity. What happened? I guess when it comes to your doorstep, you get a come to Jesus moment that, wow, we can't afford this, and let's just shuffle them off to Buffalo and beyond.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He's getting mugged by reality right now. But at the same time, okay, if that's happening to New York City, what in the hell do you think it's doing to Eagle Pass, Texas? Little tiny Eagle Pass, Texas is getting overrun. It's an ecological disaster there at the Rio Grande at this point. If you're an environmentalist and you care about those sorts of things, I care about real, actual garbage. So I actually care about this stuff.
Unbelievable.
And people are being trafficked. Young girls are being given the morning after pill in their pockets and put on birth control, like at 11, 12 years old, as they're trafficked across the border. I think when we had a reporter on the border there, I mean, just the pill packages everywhere and the clothes and garbage strewn as, you know, the migrants come out of the water at the Rio Grande and Eagle Pass. It's just nothing but like garbage and pill packages and medications. And, you know, like that's a human catastrophe. You know how you stop this? You close the southern border and it doesn't become an option for anybody anymore, so that you aren't having people put themselves in these situations and you're not lining the pockets of cartels and coyotes. But Eric Adams is just like, I don't want him here. Let him come, but I don't want him here.
And I remember as a reporter was chronicling all that you just listed, Sheila, a migrant said, excuse me, you don't have permission to film me. Here's an illegal alien in America saying to our reporter, could you please extinguish your First Amendment rights? You couldn't write this. It's the stuff of parody, Sheila.
Right. Juan Mendoza Diaz, he was our reporter at the border, and he came across like a toddler, like a preschool age child, with a WhatsApp phone number written on his arm. That's how anybody would ever know who his parents were or who he belonged to. And he was coming across the border with just somebody. And that's what he found in these migrant centers. So, you know, if you don't want little children trafficked across the border, you know what you should do? Close that border so they quit trafficking little kids across it. But Eric Adams, he's just a NIMBY, one of those not in my backyard people. Sure, bring him in, but let's send him to Dallas and Houston and, I don't know, Florida like that's where he would rather have them live. But these are progressive policies.
Yep.
Let's make the progressives live with it.
Unbelievable.
Okay, let's get to these chats.
Yes.
I think we have a couple, and because we're already across the top of the hour here, and I've got plans for the YWCA. Let's just say that's what I'm working on. AMT 60, $5. I pay $4 a month more on my TV package for Fox so I could watch Tucker and Bongino. The only two things I watched on it. I would love Tucker to work for Rebel News America. Oh, we definitely cannot afford him. No. I think Tucker Carlson's about to become very, very, very wealthy. Very wealthy. I think whatever venture he starts or whatever he plans to do, whoever does it is going to pay him a pretty penny. Yeah. I would Bill C-11 to be passed soon. Yeah, that's true.
And he deserves every penny.
He's worth it.
Yeah.
He's worth it. Absolutely. He's worth it. Yeah, like you're going to see Don Lemon join like the likes of like Cuomo and what's that other guy? Steltler? I mean, he's been gone, so he just disappeared into obscurity. That's where Don Lemon's going to go, and Tucker's going to go the other way and get really, really wealthy.
Oh, yeah.
Ableist SL gives us $5. Have you considered interviewing Big Nick on how he got blacklisted from Steam? This is young people things, okay? For insulting regressive leftists and fighting with the Valve staff over how they refuse to intervene against said extremists. I will look into that. I think Big Nick follows me on Twitter, so maybe I'll drop him a line and have him explain these young people video gaming things to me. I don't really need to know the ins and outs of the Steam world, but I just need to know exactly what happened to him and why he got canceled and why the progressives did nothing to stop it. Before we go, actually, you know what, Olivia, I know we have a couple more. Yeah, we have a couple more chats to get to, so let's stop reading the chats right here because I want to tell people about the Democracy Fund Student Journalism Conference.
Oh, yes.
So we hosted it last year. It was super fun. I was one of the speakers. Actually, I was there the whole time. And we met a bunch of wonderful young people who want to go into journalism, but they don't want to be brainwashed by Carleton University or Ryerson or one of those nut factories where they just crank out the Rachel Gilmores of the world to be TikTok journalists. So these are young people who care deeply about civil liberties and telling the other side of the story. Yep. They don't describe themselves, at least in my talks with them last year, as unbiased. They are honestly biased. They will tell you, like, we're young conservative journalists, and they want to serve as a counterbalance to the mainstream media. Met a bunch of them. I know some of them came to work and intern with us, and some went on to other places like True North. And these are very bright, wonderful young people. And we want to run, well, not we want to, TDF is going to run it again this year. And so if you are a young person, or if you know a young person who's interested in journalism, and we don't hold it against you that you're not in journalism school. Actually, I appreciate that you're not in journalism school. I don't hold it against David Menzies that he actually went to J school. I feel like we got a lot of unlearning to do if you went to J school. So you're going to talk to some great speakers. You're going to get some technical knowledge, some video knowledge, some journalism knowledge. We taught people how to do access to information last year. Like, it's really good, tangible skills. Yep. And I encourage young people who are interested in journalism, apply to come to our student journalism conference. We'll fly you out to Toronto, or TDF will fly you out to Toronto, and you're going to meet the gang. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. We had Dave Rubin speak last year. Like, it was good. It was really good. Anyways, let's roll this ad. It was fun. Looked fun. It was fun.
Today, many journalists are really just advocates for woke ideology. They don't report the facts, and they simply don't care about our fundamental freedoms. Well, we're doing something about that.
What happens when the journalists themselves are really bought and paid for by the government? Can they possibly criticize the government freely? The law of the rule-based society is the need for independent news.
We don't push back and get away with it all the time. And I think that is the key, is to push back and call them out of my box.
Everyone kind of wants to be a YouTuber or a media star these days. or whatever. And people always ask me, well, how do you do it? What do you do? What's the secret? All that stuff.
No matter what type of journalism you're doing, whether you're doing the advocacy journalism that Robbie does, whether you're doing the investigative reporting that Sheila does, some of the gonzo journalism that David Menzies does, or whether you're working in fiction like CBC, no matter what, you are telling a story.
Great. I think it's very informative. I learned a lot of stuff. I took so many notes. So it's definitely good to be here.
I'm really appreciating the diversity of the speakers. They all contribute really specific details on what to do as an aspiring journalist.
It's been absolutely mind-blowing from start to finish. Firstly, beautiful hall. We've been stuffed. It's like Thanksgiving dinner every night. So that's amazing. And the only thing that beats that are the people around us, the company, some amazing and unique individuals.
The journalism conference has been great. I met many prominent figures in this field and I got great advice.
It was a really good conference, very good to meet all the lovely people here to get some inspiration and some experience.
Our speakers, oh my gosh, they've been absolutely stupendous. Been learning so much. So grateful to have been invited to come. Thank you.
What a great bunch of kids they were.
They were so good.
You know what it reminded me of? It was back in 2018, I believe, when we went to Israel and we went to the Air Cadets graduating. And I'll never forget, we were meeting one after another, all these great, clean-cut, really intelligent kids going into the Israeli Air Force. And you said to me, and I'll never forget, there's no weirdos here.
No, there weren't. Not just at the military graduation, because I think that's like you're sampling the normals there, but like on the streets, anywhere we went, I was like, none of the young people are weirdos here. They all seem to be pretty normal. It was a strong case for mandatory military service. That was for sure.
So hope abounds.
Yeah. I mean, people may have seen young William.
Yes.
He was one of the people that we harvested from the student journalism conference. And, we've got somebody who works with the web team there. So there's lots of opportunity and, we're looking and everybody's looking and everybody's hiring. We love to give young people opportunities. So,
and Sheila, let me tell you, as someone who actually went through journalism school, and by the way, Ryerson back then, it wasn't as much of an insane asylum as it is today. In fact, it was quite normal, except for some fringe areas of campus that you
cranked you out, didn't it?
It graduated me, but I would have died. I mean it, Sheila. I would have given anything for a conference like that to hobnob with the leader of a great journalism organization like Israel Event, to take part in those workshops. So if there are any J School students watching this, what are you waiting for? I would go to this. If it existed back in the early 80s, I would have been there. So it's just a great, great event.
Yeah, it's awesome. They feed you. I mean, the speakers and the organizers were there the whole time, or at least I was. And so, like, if you've got questions, we're helping you work on a final project over the course of a couple days. So, I mean, it's an excellent opportunity to learn all parts of the business from people who have built all parts of the business, the way so many of us in the conservative media landscape have. So anyways, that's the Student Journalism Conference from the Democracy Fund. If you know a young journalist or if you are a young journalist, now's your chance. Please go and apply, and I look forward to seeing you there. Okay, we've got a couple more chats. We've got one from Court Mocker. Gives us $5. Your garbage courts ruin any man that stands up. They try. They try. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I mean, all you can do is keep fighting, right? Yeah. And Kevin Tennant gives us $5. Getting to the chat late, did you guys report on Kentucky passing a law preventing child transmutal? You put manipulation, but might mean mutilation. Maybe we mean both. We didn't talk about it yet, but
well, if that is the case, good for Kentucky.
Yeah,
good for more to Kentucky than fried chicken and good bourbon, I guess. Common sense, too.
Okay. We're all caught up. We're 15 minutes past the top of the hour, which is fair because I cut her short on Friday because I had to run out the door. So I think that's it. Olivia, is that it? We're all caught up?
We are indeed, Sheila. Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody that tuned in, and special thank you to everybody that gave a super chat, and of course our super producers Olivia and Efren behind the board there. I will be back here tomorrow, I believe. Is it with you, She-Devil? I think it is.
Oh, it could be Tamara, but either way, you're going to have a better looking than you co-host.
Well, there you go. I mean, for me, I can't tell the difference. Can you tell the difference? It's like the old ABC detergent tagline. In any event, I will definitely be back here at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, folks, as always, stay safe and stay sane.
Tamara Lich has been released from jail.
Western separatist Tamara Lich.
Lich will remain in custody.
We have breaking news out of Ottawa to tell you about. A judge has made a decision on whether to grant bail for Tamara Lich, one of the leaders of that recent demonstration in Ottawa.
You may have seen me on the news, but there's more to my story. In my new book, Hold the Line, I share the story of the Freedom Convoy, from the heart of the Freedom Convoy. It's a story of hope, courage, and coming together as a community in the Canadian way. You can buy my new book at theconvoybook.com, and in that book, you're going to hear stories from the heart of the convoy, as well as my arrest and my time in jail, like you've never heard them before. Until very recently, I've been quite silent because of my bail conditions, but now I'm ready to tell my story, my side of the story. I know the mainstream media isn't going to be fair to me, as they've already called me and my friends from the convoy terrorists.
There is increasing concern about violent online rhetoric supporting the convoy, and that those with extreme views are planning on attending.
The mayor, who made, in my estimation, just a horrendous decision to negotiate with terrorists.
So I'm launching a book tour across Canada. We'll be doing interviews, signing books, and saying thank you to all Canadians for your support. I've partnered with Rebel News to crowdfund for the cost of my book, as well as our advertising campaign. With your help, we'll be purchasing ads and billboards to spread the word about my book. We'll also be upgrading my home studio, which will enable me to do interviews all around the world. If you're a shop owner or a business owner and you'd like to have a book signing, please fill out the form on our website, which you can find here. And if you'd like to make